Hello, classmates, Dr. Ariel, and whomever else may be reviewing this. My name is Tariq Lewis, and in this video, I will be covering and demonstrating the rhetorical analysis of former President Lyndon B. Johnson's 1965 speech, "We Shall Overcome." If you know who Lyndon B. Johnson is, then you've probably already heard this speech before, most likely in high school. If you do not know who he is, however, trust me, you aren't alone, as he wasn't a very popular president, nor was he a historical pariah. LBJ, as he is commonly referred to, served as vice president to John F. Kennedy. Once Kennedy was woefully assassinated, he assumed the role of the 36th president of the United States. This speech was presented and delivered on March 15, 1965, with the prime purpose to acknowledge the events that took place during the March on Selma, the injustices that black people faced in America, primarily segregation and the right to vote, and how to rectify these problems for future generations such as our own. Everyone, no matter who you are, is susceptible to emotion, no matter how desensitized or ignorant we are to a topic or an idea. When something heart-wrenching happens, such as a loved one being hurt, it applies to our emotion in the form of pathos. To invoke this sense of sympathy, President Johnson ties this speech about African Americans' fight for freedom and equal rights to previous American-based battles, such as the Battle of Appomattox, that resulted in many casualties. He does this because many Caucasian American citizens' ancestors fought for and risked their lives in this battle, and they can conflate this with what African Americans in the 20th century were fighting for. That being said, they had an emotional connection with black people's cause. At this time in U.S. history, society asks why black people should retain the right to vote. This question went unanswered for so long until it was narrowed down to the short-sighted conclusion that people of color just didn't deserve to vote at all. Johnson's retort to the misguided view was, quote, "The last time a president sent a civil rights bill to the Congress, it contained a provision to protect voting rights in federal elections," unquote. Through the sense of logic, LBJ states that in the long-winded decision to decide who in the U.S. could vote, it was decided that everybody's voting rights were to be protected. Thus, the same applied for African Americans, people of Jewish descent, Hispanic Americans. No matter who you were, if you were an American citizen, you had the right to vote. And at the time, this right was not being protected. President Johnson himself was raised in the South under the moral format that white people were more valued than black people. Yet, for some reason, he chose to represent the nation as a Democrat and side with the average black person in their quest for equal liberties and rights. Due to his upbringing, President Johnson is seen as a credible and trustworthy figure. He had much in common with the people this speech was directed towards. He was a white, middle-aged man, heterosexual with a wife and a family, who held a high position of power. So for him to say such things as, quote, "Every American citizen must have an equal right to vote," unquote, and, quote, "It is wrong, deadly wrong, to deny any of your fellow Americans the right to vote in this country," unquote, makes his case that much more worth fighting for, and the people with a more restricted point of view could finally listen and let their guards down.